Okay, today I want to talk about the science and some theory about why you may not be getting better at your gymnastics work. And by gymnastics work, I mean things like pull-ups, handstand push-ups, muscle-ups, and even toes to bar. So a lot of times people hear, we have a lot of different ways to scale pull-ups, muscle-ups, handstand push-ups, etc. A lot of times people will scale those movements using either bands or jumping, or negatives until they're able to get a strict pull-up, or even some people will jump straight ahead, do a kipping pull-up. That's probably another issue for another day, but it will relate to this later. I think without going too far into that, strict before kipping for sure. So people will scale; they'll get to that one pull-up at a time. And then they think they're done with bands, or they think that they, I feel like people get a little bit stubborn, and they don't want to. They feel like they're then going to do. They've done one, so then their next goal is going to be to do two, and then it'll build from there. That can certainly work. I've seen that happen. I'm sure you've seen it happen. It may have even happened for you. But that's not the way that scientifically or theoretically we should be approaching that. And I'll give you a good example of that now. So say your 1 rep max is for a back squat is 200 pounds. Well, without understanding any sort of exercise physiology or any theory of that, you probably wouldn't necessarily come in here and say, okay, I can do back squat for 200 pounds one time. How am I going to then get to be able to do a back squat of 200 pounds 2 times? You're probably not just going to keep doing one at a time. You're probably not going to do one, take a long break, do another one, do a long break until you can do 2. That would seem, I would imagine, like I said, without knowing anything, I would imagine you could probably realize that would be a very slow road to getting to 2. So what do we do with that instead? And we'll look at it in kind of terms of strength theory. And I'll keep it pretty basic, but typically in a strength cycle, and just kind of how we've come to understand how the body, the best way to build, to develop strength over a longer period of time, and a very effective way of building strength over a long period of time is to do some periodization. So we'll typically build, or we'll go from sets of like 8 to 12 or so. Those are going to be our hypertrophy sets. And that's going to be to develop more muscle fibers. So we'll be doing sets of like 8 to 12, shorter rest. Those are the things that we'll focus on at the beginning of a cycle. So we'll go to try and build more of those muscle fibers. Then we're going to taper down, and we're going to do sets of like 5 to 8 or so. And then there, we're going to be focusing on strength. And that's like, this is again getting up, not without getting too convoluted, like strength endurance type stuff. So we're going to take those muscle fibers here, and we're going to make those muscle fibers stronger. So we've built more of them. Now we're going to make them stronger. So strengthen existing or developed fibers. Then from there, 3s to 5s, 1s to 5. So we're just going to keep this fairly simple, and that's going to be like maximal effort. And this is going to be mostly developing of like fiber recruitment. So in other words, we've taken these strengthened muscle fibers, and we're trying to teach our brain how to recruit as many of them as humanly possible at the right times for the max amount of power for what we need to achieve. This is where we're trying to do like 1 rep max type stuff, where it's not something you're probably going to get sore from necessarily. It's more like a fatigue. Like whenever we do 1 rep max testing, most people complain about being tired a couple days afterwards, but it's not like a muscle fatigue. They don't recognize, where like, oh, I'm really sore here. It's more like I'm just tired and I'm really hungry and I need to sleep. So this is more about controlling your brain and learning how to use these fibers that we've built these fibers, or we've built more of these fibers, we've strengthened these fibers as much as we can, and then we're trying to use all of them at the peak time, at the right exact time, as hard as we possibly can. So, what this all means for you in a gymnastics type setting is that when you're doing one at a time, if you're in a state where you're kind of feeling stubborn, you've gotten past your bands, you can do a pull-up, maybe even 2 pull-ups. That's awesome. But in a conditioning setting, to do 1 pull-up at a time and just kind of like, okay, well, I'm gonna stand here and rest till I can do 1 more again. Then I'm gonna stand here and rest till I can do 1 more again, and so on and so forth. Or even toes to bar or handstand push-ups, same kind of thing. Say for example, we're doing a workout. It's a set of 15 pull-ups. To do a set of 1 rest, set of 1 rest, set of 1 rest. That may be very effective, and I may recommend that in a competitive setting where we're going, as fast as we possibly can, trying to get the best time, because we really don't have any more time to prepare. But in a training setting, you're gonna need to focus on doing that in a bigger set so you can develop more fibers, and then from there you can start to kind of taper down. So try and follow that. Try not to be so. I guess my main point with all this is try not to be so stubborn that you're doing 1 at a time, or even 3 or 5 at a time. 5 at a time is maybe a little bit better, or I guess the higher the set, the better. As long as it's consistent and you're working through there and thinking of it like in a strength development setting. But doing 1 at a time is not helping you long term. So whatever that means as far as scaling for you, if that means adding bands and just understanding, who cares? Go back, use some bands, do some jumping, feel like you're regressing. You're not. You're gonna help your long-term development by tenfold. I'm sure you either are in this position, or or you've watched somebody in this position where they're doing 1 at a time, and they've been doing 1 at a time for the last who knows how long. Again, I've posted videos about scaling handstand push-ups as far as doing negatives, kind of same idea there. Doing pull-ups, trying to maintain either using bands or jumping for and then doing good controlled negatives for those sets. And then for muscle-ups, doing the negatives, doing good sets of negatives with good control, trying to keep them in these sets here. Hopefully that all helps and makes sense. If not, please shoot me an email or ask one of your coaches, and they'll be happy to help. Cool. Thank you.